I was thinking about something recently. If I were the, I don't know, fleet manager of a petrostate regime in South America, I would probably choose a fleet of Mercedes S-classes upon first glance. But if I were a pragmatic shopper and an avid watcher of Evercar's official YouTube channel, the source of EV truth, then I would go for a Kia EV9. Surprisingly, the Kia EV9 GT line has a zero gravity and massaging driver's seat, reclining second row seats that are heated and ventilated, a 14-speaker Meridian sound system specifically designed to drown out pleas from the United Nations, and a Tesla NACS port so you have the freedom to plug in wherever your heart desires. In today's video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the 2026 Kia EV9, and together we will find out if this is the best value electric SUV for regime leaders and suburban families alike. Before we start today's video, my name is Andrew Lambrecht. I'm a project engineer here at Ever, and I'm also a contributor at Inside EVs and Business Insider covering rare seahorse species. Not actually, I write about electric cars. But if you're new to the Ever brand, we are America's largest independent EV store. We have an inventory of several hundred used electric cars, but if you're looking at selling your current EV, visit evercars.com to get a cash offer within minutes. That is evercars.com. No haggling, no pressure. Now let's jump into the 2026 EV9. There are plenty of electric crossovers and SUVs on the market, but the vast majority of them are limited to just 2 rows. While the Tesla Model X, Rivian R1S, and Mercedes EQS SUV all arrived to the market before the Kia EV9, those cars were all subject to price premiums thanks to their emblems and capabilities. The Kia EV9 hit dealer lots in late 2023, making it the first mainstream 3-row electric SUV. Unlike the other 3 options, which can easily cost over $100,000 with options, the Kia EV9 boasted a respectable mid-$50,000 price tag at the time of launch. Since Kia Financial tends to offer competitive incentives, it's not uncommon to secure new EV9s for under the $50,000 mark. But the Kia EV9 has a lot more to offer than just its price tag. The EV9 features a 99.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack delivering up to 305 miles of range, so not only is the EV9 relatively affordable, but it offers range comparable to its smaller and more aerodynamic EV6 sibling. Plus, thanks to an 800-volt battery architecture, we get ridiculously fast charging speeds. Going from 10 to 80% is quoted at just 24 minutes. As a cherry on top, the EV9 features a very healthy list of amenities even on the base models. Kia's 3-row comes as standard with lane centering and adaptive cruise control, ventilated front seats, and a Tesla charge port. Dimensionally, the EV9 sits between the footprint of the Chevy Blazer EV and the Rivian R1S. The EV9 measures in at 197.2 inches long and has a ground clearance of 7.8 inches. While the EV9 looks aggressive with its black roof rails and sharp angles around the exterior, it isn't a rugged SUV like the Rivian. The EV9's weight ranges from 5,093 pounds in the base configuration to 5,886 pounds in the most expensive GT line. Aerodynamics are respectable at a 0.28 drag coefficient, and interestingly, that's about the exact same drag coefficient as a Polestar 2 fastback sedan. On paper, the EV9 is intriguing. But now, let's see what the trims and pricing look like. In terms of trims, there are actually 5 different trims of the EV9. We get the light rear-wheel drive, the light long-range rear-wheel drive, the Wind all-wheel drive, the Land all-wheel drive, and then finally the top-tier GT line all-wheel drive. The Kia EV9 Lite rear-wheel drive starts at $56,395 and offers a 76.1 kilowatt-hour battery pack, delivering an EPA range of 230 miles. It's propelled by a single rear electric motor, producing 215 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. This base setup is able to tow 2,000 pounds. As standard, the EV9 Lite has a 7-seat configuration, and we get a tri-zone climate control system. It also has a wireless phone charger, heated and ventilated front seats, a power tailgate, and HDA 2.0. This is Highway Driving Assistant 2.0. It has lane centering, adaptive cruise control, and it can even make automated lane changes. So you simply put on your blinker and then the car will move over lanes for you. It's fair to say the base EV9 comes with a very solid array of standard equipment. Next up is the light long range. This one starts at just under $60,000 with destination fees, and it offers a 99.8 kilowatt hour battery pack, delivering an EPA range of 305 miles, making it the longest range EV9 available. Torque remains the same at 258 pound-feet, but surprisingly the horsepower is now limited to 201. Towing remains the same at 2,000 pounds, but now we have an option for 6 or 7 seats. The light long range also features some more standard amenities like a power opening front sunroof. Next up is the Wind all-wheel drive. This one starts at $65,395. It uses the same 99.8 kilowatt hour battery pack, but now we get 2 electric motors producing 379 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque. Range drops to 283 miles, but now we get an improved towing capacity of 3,500 pounds. The Wind features silver roof rails, a heated steering wheel, dual sunroofs, and a heat pump. For most buyers, the Wind is probably going to be the best middle ground option. The second to final trim is the Land all-wheel drive. This one starts at $70,395 and has the exact same powertrain as the Wind. The only difference is the Land can tow up to 5,000 pounds thanks to a self-leveling rear suspension. So as you know, if you have a lot of load on the rear of the vehicle, it can start to push down the suspension. But now with a self-leveling suspension, you can raise that up and therefore you can tow a little bit more at the tongue. The Land comes with a lot of extra goodies like a 14-speaker Meridian sound system, those cool LED lights on the front grille, a digital rear view mirror, and ventilated second row seats. And finally, we have the GT line, and this is the one I'm sitting in right now. It starts at $73,395. This one makes the same amount of horsepower as all the other all-wheel drive EV9s, but now the torque is increased from 443 pound-feet to 516. It's important to note that if you do have a Wind or Land, you can actually pay $900 and then get an over-the-air software update to unlock that additional torque. But nevertheless, from the factory, the GT line is a little quicker. The GT line features upgraded 21-inch wheels, a massaging driver's seat, a 12-inch head-up display, and Smart Park from the key, so you can actually move the car forward and backward from the key alone. But the big thing with all these prices is that Kia typically does pretty good incentives on their vehicles. In fact, I do the monthly lease deals for Inside EVs, and consistently Kia has been offering about $10,000 off every month on the EV9. With those incentives, that means people are actually paying a lot less for their EV9s. In fact, if you want to get the light rear-wheel drive, you should probably be only paying about $46,000 for it. And if you get the loaded up GT line like this one right here, that one should be under $65,000. But all things considered, the realistic starting price for the EV9 is just over $46,000. In terms of cargo volume, the EV9 offers 20.2 cubic feet of space behind the third row. And then if you fold the third row, which is thankfully very easy thanks to these straps, there we go, that's one seat down, then we get a total of 43.5 cubic feet of space behind the second rows. And once we fold the third row down, you can see that there is plenty of space back here. But it's not only the space, it's the cool amenities. We get a 12-volt power outlet on the driver's side, and on the right side, we get a 120 volt power outlet right here that can deliver 15 amps. So that means we can get a total power output of 1.9 kilowatts from this outlet, meaning you could even level 1 charge another EV from the back of your EV9. We also have controls for the second row seats, and here I can move them forward or backward, which is pretty cool. Finally, we get these straps, which make it really easy to raise up the third row. Compared to the Rivian R1S or the Tesla Model X, it's really hard to get the third row up, and you basically got to get into the second row to do it. Up front, the EV9 has a front trunk, which can actually be opened from the key, which is pretty sick. And once you open it, it reveals a pretty small cargo area of 1.8 cubic feet on the all-wheel drive models. This is substantially smaller than what you would get in a Rivian R1S or a Tesla Model X, but nevertheless, it's been pretty convenient as I can throw my backpack up here and then keep it secure up front. Oh, and your cabin air filter is actually located right behind this lid in this area right here, making it very easy to access your cabin air filter when you need to replace it. It's a lot better in here than what you get in some other cars like the Tesla Model 3 and Y, where you have to crawl upside down into the passenger footwell compartment just to access the filters. And here, it's very easy. To get inside the EV9, we get automatic retracting door handles, and they will open up whenever you get close to the car with your key or if you press the unlock button, and then you can open up the door. One thing to note about these door handles is that they are regular mechanical door handles. There is a physical connection here to the latch. They are not electronic door releases. Nevertheless, when you do open up the door, you can see that we have a pretty wide area to get inside the cabin. Luckily, getting into the third row is not that difficult. So there's two ways. First, you can do the crawling method, which is basically getting in between the middle rows and then getting into the third row like that. That is the more difficult way. And then the other way is by pressing this button right here. And then the second row seat will fold out of the way. Now, getting in the third row is super easy. I'm in. And once you're back here, it's actually pretty nice. And as a preface, I actually moved up all these seats into positions I would actually sit at, and I do like a decent amount of legroom if I am the driver. So these seats are all in pretty realistic positions, and back here I still have a decent amount of space. The foot room is great, especially because we have nothing in this middle area. The knee room isn't too amazing. It's a little limited. In fact, my knee is occasionally pushing on the back of the second row seat, but I could definitely see myself doing a road trip in here. This glass roof helps make it feel a little more airy back here. We also get 3 cup holders, one on the left side, 2 on the right side. There are also 2 USB-C ports, one on the left, one on the right, and we get our own AC vents for the third row. These third row seats are not heated or anything like that, but they are perforated and they feel really nice. In terms of seating materials, we are not on leather. We are actually sitting on Syntex seats, and you get this on every trim of the EV9. It's basically a leatherette, and it feels very smooth grained. That is one thing I really like about this. It feels a lot more premium than what you would get in, say, BMW's Sensatech. Once you make it to the second row of the EV9, you will start to feel as if you are in a luxury product. Minus some stuff here and there, there is a lot more plastic in here than what you would get in a true luxury car, especially on the lower side of the center console, some plastic on the lower side of the door panel, and this whole B pillar is pretty much plastic halfway up. But once you're back here, the sheer amount of features are kind of overwhelming. So first off, we get a tri-zone climate control, and you get this in every single Kia EV9 trim, so you can control your own climate controls back here, which is a pretty nice feature to have. And then it starts getting crazier. So these captain's chairs we are sitting on are power adjustable, and they are also heated and ventilated. Ventilated seats in the second row of any car is a rarity to find. Next up, we get a sunshade, which is a pretty cool feature to have. And then we also get a center console that kind of pulls out with a table on top. So if you have your laptop that you need to sit down, or you just want to put some food on this table, you can do that. And then underneath this table is a whole storage compartment. There's also 2 cup holders in this center console and a USB-C port located on the back of the driver and passenger seat. But the craziest thing is the relaxation package, which runs $2,000. With the relaxation package, you get an adjustable leg rest, and you can fully recline back the passenger seats. Therefore, you can easily take a nap in the back of the EV9 and then look up at the stars through the glass roof, which also has a cover. So if you want to close it, you can. Out of any row, however, the first row is the place to be in the EV9. There are truly so many features up here. The first one, and probably the most apparent, is the sunroof. So this is an opening sunroof. You press that button and then it opens up. The back one you cannot open, so if you want an open air experience, you got to sit up here to open up the sunroof. Second thing are the seats. These seats are really, really nice. In fact, the driver's seat is 14-way power adjustable. We get the extending leg rest like you do on the back seats, but you also get adjustable bolstering on these seats. The driver and passenger seats are both heated and ventilated. The steering wheel is also heated and the driver's seat is massaging. The driver's seat can also go into zero gravity mode, so you can tilt the seat back like this, have your leg rest come out, and then you can tilt the seat back so far in here. It's actually insane. It just keeps on going. But what's even crazier is the fact that we have meditation sounds built into the infotainment. It's called Sounds of Nature. And if I tick up the volume, this is called Experience the Universe. Like, this thing is literally a lounge on wheels. We also get the ambient lighting in the dashboard and in the lower portions of the doors. And this interior experience is just so cool. As for other features, we get 2 USB-C ports located up front. We also get this cool center console lid with 2 hidden cup holders. There's also a wireless phone charger and a fingerprint sensor. So you can program this car so you put your finger on here and then it allows the vehicle to drive. Once again, the materials are pretty good up front. We get more of these fabric inserts in this center console area, which is a really nice touch. And there's also some silver accents around the dash, which give this car a more premium feel. The attention to detail is also really nice. In fact, we can control the passenger seat from the side of the passenger seat. So if the driver wants to move back the passenger seat or move it forward, you can easily do so. And we get some really nice aluminum accelerator and brake pedals. Finally, we get a 14-speaker Meridian sound system, and the sound experience in here is really good. I'd say this sounds better than what you would get in the EV6 with its Meridian sound system, and I think the overall sound profile in here is pretty respectable. Other than that, I had 2 of my friends ride in the car with me. Both of them are engineers at leading EV manufacturers, and they were very impressed with the build quality and array of features you get in the EV9 GT line. And now it is software time in the EV9. First off, it does some stuff really well, and then some stuff not so well. Case in point, the EV route planner. So we don't have Kia Connect Plus on this press car, which is a little odd, but if I want to plan out a road trip, we go here, and let's say we want to just go down to Los Angeles from San Francisco. Obviously, we don't have a Kia account, so we have to press no. And then it calculates our route, but you're gonna have to manually enter in all your charging stations, which really sucks. So if you don't have Connect Plus on the EV9, you gotta manually plan out your road trip through this infotainment, which isn't really great. I was able to filter in more charging stations like Electrify America, EVgo, but all these stations are so close. They're showing ones that are like 11.9 miles away, and yet we're at 76% battery. So without Kia Connect Plus, without it auto adding in your charging stops, it's basically useless. Plus, this entire map is pretty laggy as well. Definitely feels very outdated, even though this is a 2026 model year car. The good thing, however, is that we do have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. So if you want to manually create your EV road trip in Google Maps and then project it onto the car, you can, and thankfully, CarPlay and Android Auto are both wireless in the EV9. But there is a lot of stuff to like with the EV9 as well. We have an EV tab right here, and here we can see a lot of stuff. We can see our estimated range, what our estimated range would be if we turn off the climate control, and going to this setting over here, we can set the maximum charging limit we want our car to charge up to. We have this set to 100 just because it's a press car and they like it fully charged up when we return it. But you can also go to the AC charging settings here, and then you can limit the AC charging current if you want your car to charge a little slower overnight, or if you don't want to overload your breaker. Here we have our V2L menu. So here we can have the V2L feature turn off at 20%. So say you're camping and you have some electronics that are being powered by the battery pack, then you can have a setting where once your battery pack reaches 20%, it will turn off the V2L feature. We can also see our previous efficiency. So this is our miles per kilowatt hour. I'm not sure why it says charge efficiency, because that would lead you to think that this is like the efficiency of the charger, but that's not what it is. This is the efficiency of the drivetrain. And we have been hovering around the upper 2s, low 3s miles per kilowatt hour, which is honestly pretty decent. Another feature I love is that we can see our car's battery state of health. And right now this car is pretty new, so it shows us with 100% state of health. It's really cool that we have this built into the car just like your iPhones do. So this is a really nice way how you can see how much usable capacity your battery pack still has. There was a lot of information on here, and I think Kia has done a great job on this. On the main screen, we can swipe down, and now we got some more stuff. You can turn off the display if you want to. And one thing I really like is the passenger talk setting. So if I click on here, I can talk to the people in the back seat. Hello. Other than that, there's actually a lot of settings in the options menu. One of the things I love is if we go to sound, we can turn on active sound design so we can get some propulsion noises when we accelerate. I'm not a huge fan of the way they sound, but it's nevertheless cool if you want some added noise. The other neat thing is the light menu. You click on here, and here we can adjust the ambient lighting. And as you can see, this ambient lighting is actually pretty intense. You can link this to your drive mode. So if I go here and I change the drive mode to normal or sport, we get different color ambient lighting, which is pretty sweet. I, however, like turning it off and clicking on the color, and here we have several different colors we can choose from. We even get some dual tone colors, and then it tells you a little description like meditation helps increase the feeling that can be achieved through meditation by supporting a high level of awareness and clarity. Another color scheme is called Creative Moment, helps to inspire creativity. This is pretty cool, and I'm sure Marvel fans will enjoy this one. Other than that, I really like the ambient lighting setup in this car. It looks very premium, and I love how it extends into the second row. Some other cool stuff in this screen consists of the 3D view camera, and if we click on here, obviously it's nighttime, so we're not going to get the best resolution, but we still have a pretty nice 3D view of the car. Unfortunately, it gets the trim wrong because these are not the GT line wheels, and the paint color's wrong as well, which I don't particularly love. But we do have a 3D view camera, and I think the backup camera quality on here is actually really impressive. I like this backup camera a lot. Obviously, it looks better during the daytime, but this is a substantial improvement from, say, the Gen 1 Kia EV6. Along with the cameras, we do have a digital rear view mirror, so if I pull up on this little stick, then the camera activates. And the one thing I love about this is the attention to detail. So right now, if I shift the car into reverse, I'm gonna hold off right now, but now I put the car into reverse, this camera will now shift downwards, so we get a better view of what's below us. And then if I put the car into drive, then the camera will shift back up. I like that a lot. Some other things work really well, particularly these climate controls. Very easy to change the temperature, and then it will pop up on the screen. Fan speed, very easy. This is really great, and I love that we have physical controls. The volume knob is located right here, so we can easily increase or decrease the volume. And then we get these haptic buttons up here, so if I want to go home, I can click there. We can go to the map pretty easily. We can go to our media that's currently playing, and then back home. This is great. And we have our climate control menu located right here as well. We can change the fan speed. The only thing is it's not really conducive for the passenger to utilize it just because it is located between the driver's display and the center screen. If we shift our focus over to our driver gauge cluster, you can see that we have a head-up display located right above it. There we go, it's focused. And then right below we have our screen. And as you can see, the lighting is actually pretty cool on here. The Kia logo is illuminated on the steering wheel, which gives this car a very premium look. And there's actually a decent amount of menu items to scroll through on the screen. So we can see our driver assistance features, and then we can see our power distribution. We can also see our range. It gives us a max and min range. So if we drive very nicely, we can possibly get up to that 258. And then if we drive very aggressively, we're going 80 miles per hour down the highway, then we're probably gonna get more like 155 on our current state of charge. Unfortunately, unlike the EV6, there's nothing crazy going on when it comes to your drive mode. So regardless of what drive mode you go in, this gauge cluster will look pretty much the same, but at least your range will adjust accordingly. Overall, this software setup is fine. I really wish this EV route planner was a lot better. Like in the new Nissan Leaf, it has a Google-based system and it works really, really well. Kia's in-house system on here just doesn't really cut it for me, but at least we do have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, which is a nice touch, and I really do appreciate these physical buttons on the lower side. And now it's time to talk about charging, and I'm very excited because we are at the first V4 Supercharger here in Redwood City to see how well the 2026 EV9 performs in a real-world charging test. The Kia EV9 GT line comes with a 99.8 kilowatt-hour battery, and roughly 96 of those kilowatt hours are usable. The EV9's battery has a peak charge rate of 240 kilowatts, but it's important to remember that with Kia EVs and Hyundai products, they tend to have really good charging curves. Therefore, the manufacturer quote on the 10 to 80% charge time is 24 minutes, and I just plugged in at 9%, started the timer at 10%, and we will see how long it truly takes this car to charge from 10 to 80. Thankfully, there's not a lot of other people here, and I preconditioned the battery pack on the way over to ensure we are getting some pretty good results. The important thing with fast charging your Kia EV9, or frankly any EV with an 800-volt battery architecture at a Tesla Supercharger, is that you really need to use V4 Superchargers to get optimal performance. You see, the vast majority of superchargers are V3s, and the issue with them is that they can only supply 480 volts. Now, the battery pack on an EV9 is 800 volts. That's a lot higher than what the supercharger can provide. Therefore, to charge your 800 volt EV at a V3 supercharger, you're gonna need some onboard equipment to step up the voltage to match the battery pack. Now, the issue with this is that you're literally limited by your onboard equipment, heat, and a bunch of other factors, so you really can't get great charging times. In fact, charging a Kia EV9 on a V3 supercharger, you would only get a peak charging rate of 126 kilowatts. That's nowhere near what this battery pack can actually accept. Still, that 126 number isn't terrible when you consider that a Lucid Air can only do 50 kilowatt boost charging, and the older Kia EV6s top out at around 100. The good news is Tesla is rolling out its V4 superchargers across the nation, and Iona's new charging network, which primarily consists of NACS connectors, is all 1000 volts. So hopefully within the near future, this shouldn't really be a big issue. But nevertheless, if you are road tripping and you're planning on stopping for a while for lunch or something like that, then boost charging at a supercharger shouldn't pose any issue because you're still pulling 126 kilowatts. In terms of real world range, the EV9 is rated at 280 miles, which is a pretty solid number. It's not quite as good as the Ioniq 9 or Model X Rivian R1S with the larger max battery pack, but it's a pretty good number. Based on my driving, I estimate that 280 is pretty realistic. Out of spec studios tested around 265 miles in a 2024 EV9, but this one has a slightly higher EPA range. That could be due to testing cycle differences and stuff like that. But nevertheless, you should at least get 260 miles in this one. Before we reveal the 10 to 80% charging time, we do have V2L on all Kia EV9s regardless of trim, and basically this means you can offload up to 1.9 kilowatts to another source. Another source could include another vehicle, so you can level 1 charge another EV from your EV9, but this car's battery pack can basically act as a generator for offloading some power, and that's a really cool feature to have. All right, numbers are in. We just went from 10 to 80%, and you would not believe this, 23 minutes and 59 seconds, right under Kia's claim of 24 minutes. This is honestly one of the best charging sessions I have seen in a really long time, and it's amazing we were able to replicate this in real world conditions. Now, let's get behind the wheel and see how this thing drives. All right, we are now driving the Kia EV9 GT line, but first a quick acceleration run, or shall I say a 0 to 60 run. Not super quick right off the line, but then once you accelerate, this thing actually has a pretty good amount of power. It starts to really taper off at around 40 miles per hour. And in our V-Box test last night, I was able to get 4.75 seconds, 0 to 60, without including the 1 foot rollout, which is kind of a dumb marketing tool. But regardless, 4.75 seconds is a really good 0 to 60 time. Once you get up into higher speed ranges like 50, 60 miles per hour and you accelerate, the torque surge is pretty good, but it's still definitely not as intense as it is around 20 or 30 miles per hour. In terms of the way this car drives, it's very, very nice. It's super quiet in here. The suspension is forgiving, and this is simply a very large, comfortable SUV to drive. The one pedal driving in here is pretty well calibrated, and the nice thing is we get several different levels of adjustable regions. So if I pull back on the right paddle shifter. I can pull back here. Then I can go all the way down to no regen at all. So I let off the accelerator and we can just coast down the road. And then if I pull back on the left one 4 times, I can go into full one pedal driving mode, which Kia calls iPedal. iPedal does a great job of bringing you down to a complete stop once you've let off the accelerator. The one thing I just don't love about it is that there is a little lag from when you let off to when the regen begins. So if I do it right now, I let off, and then it takes a little bit of time for that regen to kick in, as opposed to, I don't know, a Tesla or something like that, where you let off the accelerator and you get that regen pretty much instantaneously. I even played around with the settings to make sure that the regen will come on as quickly as possible, but even on the soonest setting, it really doesn't come on that quick compared to some other EVs. But other than that, I think the accelerator pedal is tuned very well. The brakes feel very natural as well. All that really works well in this car. In terms of handling and that fun stuff, this car actually handles really well. Obviously, this is no BMW i4 or Porsche Taycan or even a Lucid Air, but this thing is very planted in corners, surprisingly so. Especially on some of these curvy roads, there's not a ton of body roll. Sorry, that's my tripod back there. And this car just feels really confident in corners. It's pretty cool. The steering inputs in here feel very natural. It's not twitchy like a Tesla is, and it's not like swaying around like a Nissan Ariya is. This is a really nicely calibrated steering feel. On the highway, the EV9 feels very stable. One of the things I really appreciate is that there's very low wind noise, despite this being shaped like a large SUV that would clearly create some noise when you're driving down the highway. In fact, there is very, very little wind noise at all. The road noise is also very subdued, and this is a very quiet car to drive around in. In terms of safety features, we get HDA 2.0. So this has lane centering, adaptive cruise control, and it can also make automated lane changes, which is pretty cool. Though in my testing, it was a little on the aggressive side when it comes to changing lanes. But at least when you have HDA turned on, you can take your hands off the wheel for around 30-ish seconds on the highway, and then it will continue to do its thing. And I think HDA generally is a really good system, and I would probably put it in my, I don't know, top 5 highway driving assistants out there. The other cool thing is that when you change lanes, you get a little screen that pops up in the gauge cluster to basically show you, yeah, there's a lane change right there. Just a lot more aggressive than what I would do. But when you are changing lanes, you do get a little screen that pops up in the gauge cluster, and it shows you your blind spot, which is a really cool feature, and a lot of other top trim level Kias and Hyundais have this. In the bigger picture, I really like the way that the EV9 drives. It does a lot of things really well, and it's simply a comfortable large SUV to drive around in. Behind the wheel, there's a lot to love about the Kia EV9. And that, my friends, was the Kia EV9. As you can tell, I really like this car. In fact, I've been a big fan of a lot of Hyundai and Kia products over the years. In fact, I even had a Kia EV6 for an entire summer and had a lot of great memories in it. Kia and Hyundai are truly building impressive electric cars. Now, that doesn't mean this car is without faults. In fact, it seems like the EV9s are still subject to the dicey ICCU issues that the older Ioniq 5s and Kia EV6s have had, which is a little disappointing because this car overall is a really, really solid product. And then this component that controls all the power going in and out of the car is still having some issues. The good thing is this is covered under the 10-year, 100,000-mile EV system warranty, which is technically separate from the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. So if you do experience a failure, thankfully it will be covered under the 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. But looking at this car objectively, the Kia EV9 has so much to offer, especially this high trim level GT line. We get a crazy array of luxury features you don't even get in a lot of premium sedans on the market. This EV9 comes with heated and ventilated first and second row seats, reclining second row seats, 2 sunroofs, an impressive safety suite thanks to HDA 2.0, and crazy fast charging times. But even if you step down to the Kia EV9 Light Long Range, which by the way is around $50,000 with Kia's current incentives, you're getting 305 miles of range, highway driving assistant 2.0, and a still healthy array of standard features like a sunroof and ventilated front seats. In sum, the Kia EV9 is a very well-refined product, and I'd argue it's the best value electric or perhaps the best value three-row SUV on the entire market. If you enjoyed today's video, please find a way to become a motivational speaker for a local school, but instead of actually giving a motivational speech, just talk about charging curves in a slightly British accent. Alternatively, you can press the like and subscribe button. Thank you for watching.